Tonight on JoyNews Prime, Board of Trustees for National Cathedral Project estimate it will cost $100 million and will cover cost of relocating the judges whose official bungalows are currently being pulled down to make way for the edifice.
To spend anything less than $100 million. We are not just building a national cathedral, but the amount of monies this cathedral is going to generate for the nation is interesting.
President Akufo-Addo says his mandate will be renewed come 2020 and describes his prospective contenders as dreamers.
They are still dreaming that they are going to come back to power. And I think that we're going to give them an opportunity to see that they live in another world. And we, the people of Ghana, will live in a different world from those dreams that they have.
Police to begin collection of biological samples from close relatives of missing Takoradi girls as experts begin process to ascertain whether suspected human remains recently discovered are indeed theirs. This follows a visit by the acting IGP to Takoradi to meet.
Ghana Stock Exchange justifies suspension of cocoa buying company PBC from the stock market.
Rather sending the right signals that we're making sure that rules are enforced. You all recall what happened in the past where people accused the market of not enforcing rules. So we need to enforce the rules at the same time, point out the real benefits that companies can gain when they get onto the market.
Let's take a quick break. We'll be back in a bit. We move on to our very first story, where the Ghana Police Service will Wednesday begin collecting biological samples from close relatives of the 4 girls who went missing in Takoradi last year as experts begin the process for ascertaining whether they will match with the suspected human remains recently discovered as part of the investigations. Wednesday's exercise comes after the acting IGP's visit to the families on Tuesday. Director General of Police Public Affairs, ACP David Eklu, went with the IGP and joins us on the phone now. Thank you very much for making time to speak with us, ACP Eklu. Now, let's first clarify. Initially, we have been working with a theory that there were 3 missing girls, but now we're looking at a situation where there are 4. If you could just clarify that for us.
Yes, thank you very much. It is true that the IGP and the cross-section of Police Management Board joined the Western Regional Police Command to visit the 4 families. Yes, the 4 remain were found last week as part of the police investigation to looking at the various angles of the case. And it is also correct that the 4th remain, there was an earlier case reported in July to the Konyokrom police about a missing lady whose name is Ruth Abaka. So it makes 4 the number of ladies that went missing between July and December last year.
Now, you tell us about the visit by the IGP. What was the purpose?
Yes, the purpose is threefold. First is to personally touch base with the families since this incident happened, because he's been receiving briefings, even though he's been receiving briefings and reports from the Western region and the CID. It was important that he personally took those steps to touch base with the 4 families. The second purpose of the visit was also to update the families on steps we have taken so far in the investigation and the critical need to seek the cooperation of the 4 families so that we can, through the scientific process, identify those remains that we found in 2 places in Takoradi. The third one was also to listen to their concerns, because the families have, through press conferences and all that, raised some concerns about the police, some aspects of the police work, and sought clarity. So we also went there to listen to their concerns, clarify issues, and also take into account their worries about certain aspects of police investigation. And lastly, a new liaison officer has been appointed to liaise with the four families. He is based in Accra here. He's the director of our religious affairs, ACP, Reverend Father George Atta, so that the liaison can be boosted with a more senior ranking officer who can work with the families.
Now, is that then to suggest that the police have won the cooperation of the four families involved for this DNA or the collection of biological samples to go ahead?
Yes, we visited all the families, the three, and then the mother of the fourth lady in Swayim. And the feedback is positive. It looks promising. The family were reassured about the Inspector General of Police personal presence. And then they indicated that the presence of the IGP has boosted their confidence to participate in the process.
Now, what's the latest updates? I know that the police haven't quite abandoned the idea of finding these girls alive. What's the update as far as that is concerned?
We have to look at the various angles of the investigation. For now, we are treading cautiously. The case is still open until we finish the process of going through the DNA analysis to confirm whether those remains are those of the four ladies who went missing.
And you say that it's going to take 4 weeks. Last week you told us by the statement that it's going to take 4 weeks for that to happen. Are we still working with the 4 weeks timeline?
Yes, we hope so, because now that we've gotten the fullest cooperation of all the four families, and barring any last-minute hitches, when the process begins tomorrow, I believe that we should be able to meet that deadline.
All right, thank you very much, ACP David Eklu, bringing us that update there from Takoradi. Moving on, the Board of Trustees of the National Cathedral is fighting off claims that the edifice is unnecessary. Its Secretary, Reverend Victor Kusi-Boateng, maintains the cathedral, once completed, will be a cash cow for the country, even though it will not be fully funded by the taxpayer. We'll hear from him shortly. But after almost 2 years of inactivity, the first phase of the construction has begun in earnest, in spite of public opposition to the initiative. My colleague Emefa Pao has been tracking progress of work for some time now, and here's her report.
The purpose of the cathedral, as I indicated at the sword cutting, was to offer thanksgiving to the Almighty for his blessings to us as a nation, and to address a missing link in the nation's architecture by building a church for national purposes. We're grateful to the Almighty that exactly a year on, and once again on my way to the Independence Square celebrations, we're gathered here to unveil the design.
President Akufo-Addo on March 6, 2018, at the launch and unveiling of the architectural design for the more than 5,000 capacity National Cathedral.
The building is conceived as a podium with all its services underneath, and the pavilion of the church sits on top of it, being able to be seen from as far as we really to be seen in the Accra skyline, with its tower, its spire, with its cross, and its pointed roof line. We aim for this building to be an iconic emblem of the nation building that the president has set.
A national monument expected to house chapels, baptistry and mausoleum, as well as a 5,000-seat main auditorium, expandable to 15,000 people for national events and celebrations. This announcement was met with disapproval from various quarters, with many questioning the timing and priority of the project and even the location.
The position of the minority is one that opposes religious freedom. We in this country are all people who are God-fearing, and we all worship the Almighty. There's no doubt about that. But I think that this is a cynical attempt by this government to hide behind religion, to recklessly dissipate state resources. So what is happening is not only a misplaced priority, but also a reckless dissipation of our resources and a lawless act in the making.
But President Akufo-Addo's response to the critics was emphatic.
I'm aware that there are some who do not share my views on this matter. I respect their right to differ, but I'm comforted in my decision by the vast numbers of enthusiastic supporters of this project, whose spiritual dimension is limitless.
National Cathedral is to serve as a gesture of thanksgiving to God and to give me an opportunity to redeem a pledge I made to him before I became president.
In December 2018, Mr. Akufo-Addo will announce a personal contribution of 100,000 Ghana cedis towards the construction of the cathedral at the launch of a fundraiser. And despite a government position that the cathedral was not going to have any governmental contribution financially, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta, in his 2018 presentation of the budget statement, announced government will provide an undisclosed seed capital for the construction of the controversial National Cathedral.
Providing the land, the secretariat, and some seed money for the preparatory phase. Mr. Speaker, the President is determined that the building of the National Cathedral would not put undue financial burden on the state.
It will have religious studies, it will have a Bible museum, it will have spaces for education, which is fundamental.
The ultra-modern facility, designed by British-Ghanaian architect David Ajayi, is expected to be erected on a vast landmass, more than 6 hectares, in one of Ghana's prime locations, Ridge.
The building is conceived as a podium with all its services underneath, and the pavilion of the church sits on top of it.
Now, this is a controversial point. All buildings, from the Rich Circle to the Scholarship Secretariat, the Judicial Training Institute, the Passport Office, and even the Malian ambassador's residence, are to go down. Other structures, as well as some 10 6-bedroom bungalows built by the Judicial Service to house Court of Appeal judges, was also to be demolished before the takeoff of the project. Now, though some judges were thought to be unhappy about the move, there was very little they could do, especially as government, through Lands Minister, who would later be appointed Energy Minister, John Peter Amewu, announced some $168,000 is to be spent on temporary accommodation for the judges for at least 18 months, while permanent structures are constructed for them.
Relocation costs, constructions of new buildings, and even making 10-acre land available for the training school. All these are cost implications.
And how much is this going to cost in total?
The renting per bungalow per month, I think, is in the range of about $3,000 or $2,500 or so dollars, per month. These are very high-class buildings that, very prime area. So you multiply by the number of buildings that we have rented out.
How many units are we renting?
In all, we are renting about 12.
When asked about the source of the financial arrangement for the relocation of the judges into temporary facilities, this is what Mr. Amewu had to say.
There's a financial arrangement that we have undertaken, and I know some individuals, are very instrumental in making sure that this comes to reality.
Is government paying for this?
Government efforts, of course, will be, the salaries that they are paying the workers to make sure that this thing is undertaken. The government on its own is putting a CD into this. But of course, the efforts of the civil servant, the efforts of the minister, and all this is to make sure these things are done, which of course can be read as cost. I think that's government effort. But there's a financial arrangement that was done with some private, individuals that are interested in giving this service.
After several months of inactivity and the occupants of these bungalows served eviction notices, some demolition has begun. Earth-moving equipment are on site, brazing through the structures to make way for the project. At one of the sites where the demolition is ongoing, you can see behind me the earth-moving equipment that is already demolishing these buildings to pave way for the construction of the National Cathedral. Before, we've been here and that did not happen, but this time it looks like the action is on and all is being made ready for the construction of the National Cathedral. Now, it's been nearly 2 years since President Akufo-Addo broke ground for the construction of the cathedral. And as the demolition exercise is underway, there are questions about when exactly the construction will begin. Meanwhile, the 18-month period announced to rent temporary accommodation facilities for the appeals court judges is almost up, and one wonders what happens after the 18 months elapses. One after the other, these structures, some of which were only 5 months old, are going down. And finally, some work can commence on the cathedral project.
We can now hear from Secretary to the Board of Trustees, Reverend Victor Kusi-Boateng, who has been responding to the criticisms about the edifice.
Building the kind of a cathedral we are building doesn't happen in a day. The first phase is the drawings, the architectural drawings, after which you go to the structural drawings, after which you come down to the acoustics, after which you come down to the landscaping, and then quantities and all that. And like you already know, it's a very, very imposing and a building. So that's going to take us months and months and months. We are at the demolition stage, and we are almost set with the drawings, and very soon you guys are going to see action on the ground.
So, how much are we looking at in this construction? How much money is involved?
We are not going to spend anything less than $100 million. Yes. We are not just building a national cathedral, but the amount of monies this cathedral is going to generate for the nation is interesting. It's going to generate a lot of monies, and I can say on authority that it's going to generate more monies than all the sports stadiums in Ghana put together. Is it? Yes. How come? Okay, number one, let me tell you. One, it's going to be, we want to create something like an African Israel tourist center. So you have thousands of people just coming in to see the first of such an iconic cathedral ever done in Ghana. It goes beyond the regular national cathedral that we are talking about, when our models are ready to be very interesting. And secondly, you and I bear record with me that Accra Sports Stadium was built with your money, the taxpayers' money, 100%. Am I right or wrong? Right. And then every generation of income goes into the consolidated fund. Am I right or wrong? Okay. For the first time, your tax money is not going to pay the National Cathedral, and yet every dime that shall be realized will go into the consolidated funds like the sports stadium goes in. Why should we fight it? Because we are rather spending our monies, rallying throughout the world, talking to presidents, talking to people, and people are ready to support us.
The president mentioned that he was going to give you a seed money. How much is he giving you?
They still haven't told us. We're still pushing. We know the challenges. If it comes, praise God. If it doesn't come, we are ready to work. We are ready to build this cathedral.
Now, the 2020 general election is a little over a year away, but President Akufo-Addo is firm in his conviction his mandate will be renewed, describing his opponents as dreamers if they are nursing any hope of forming the next government. Addressing staff and students of the Bolgatanga Senior High School at Bolgatanga in the Upper East region as part of his two-day working visit there, the president also indicated government will resist any attempt by his political opponents to abolish the free senior high school program. JoyNews' Albert Sori is on the tour and reports.
From September this year, all three classes, senior high school 1, 2, and 3, are all going to be beneficiaries of the free senior high school policy across Ghana. And it will mean that for the first time in our history, over 1 million, in fact, 1.2 million plus students will be enrolled in senior high school education in Ghana. These figures have never, ever been attained in our history until now. This policy has come to stay. I know that there are people in this country who don't want this policy, who have been campaigning against this policy. And they are dreaming that they're going to come back to power to cancel the policy. I want them to know that the people of Ghana are not going to subscribe to those dreams. They are not coming back to power, and the free senior high school policy has come to stay in our country. They still haven't woken up from their dreams. They dreamt in 2016 that they were on course for victory, only to find out that the Ghanaian people were no longer prepared to put their trust in their hands. They are still dreaming that they're going to come back to power. And I think that we're going to give them an opportunity to see that they live in another world. And we, the people of Ghana, will live in a different world from those dreams that they have.
President paid a courtesy call on the chiefs and people of the Binaba community in the Boku West district. And there again, he addressed the people. His main message for us and for the many people of the Upper East region has been the concern as far as the Bolga Boku Road is concerned. Now, the president has promised the people of the region that this road is going to be fixed before the end of the year 2020.
Boku Road, which we've had a lot about, which the non-performance and the non-achievements made a great deal of politics about, is going to be done by the grace of God before the 2020 election is over. What we need above all are your support and your unity behind the programs that we're putting out before the people.
Now, this was after the roads minister gave the assurance that this road is going to be fixed. Now, he said that the road had to be halted. The road project for the Bolga Boku Pulmakum road had to be halted because some due diligence was not done on the contract by the previous government.
Myself and my colleague, the finance minister, to ensure that we fix this road. We have worked closely, and last June, the finance minister, and I believe you heard it in his presentation to Parliament for the people of this country, on behalf of the President of the mid-year budget review. We have therefore had a collaborative discussion with Nigeria's current government. That is why they have returned to site. That's why you see them working earnestly. They have started work, and I want to assure all of you, the chiefs, the people of Boku West, the people of Binaba, and then the people of this constituency, that this work which has been resumed will not end. It will not halt again.
So the president has given his own assurances, and the people of the region are hopeful that this time is not going to be one of the many promises we have seen, but that the Bolga Boku Road is going to be fixed once and for all. My name is Albert Sorry, reporting for JoyNews.
We're taking a break here on JoyNews. From still ahead in the bulletin, Lands and Natural Resources Minister debunks claims government is working to covertly take over the Ghana Manganese Company after backtracking on a directive to shut it down.
There is also no truth in the allegation that government is planning on taking over the Ghana Manganese Company. That is totally false.
And a state governor in Tanzania is suggesting the compilation of a database of married men to discourage them from cheating on their spouses. Here in Ghana, members of the public we spoke with don't quite believe it will work.
If somebody wants to cheat, I think that no matter what you do, the person is going to cheat.
I think it won't do anything. Because even some girls, they like some men who are already married.
In business, Ghana Stock Exchange justifies its suspension of cocoa buying company PBC from the stock market.
It's rather sending the right signals that we're making sure that rules are enforced. You all recall what happened in the past, where people accused the market of not enforcing rules. So we need to enforce the rules, at the same time point out the real benefits that companies can gain when they get onto the market.
Sandra Fenn will be here in a bit to delve into the company's financials. Do stay tuned in. We'll be back in a bit. Lands and Natural Resources Minister Kweku Asomachreme has debunked rumors government is covertly working to take over the troubled Ghana Manganese Company. Addressing staff of the company at its Nsuta headquarters when he visited on Tuesday, he said government has no such plans and that it was only applying sanctions for breaches. Government last week directed the mining firm to suspend operations over a failure to fulfill its financial obligations, the minister says, resulted in over $300 million in lost revenue to the state. The company commenced operations after the minister backtracked on the directive, and the workers made it clear to the minister they were not happy with the earlier decision.
Management workers
The closure of Ghana Manganese Company was in the interest of you, I mean you, the workers of GMC, and the government of Ghana. So let nobody conclude the closure was to solely benefit government. It was done to clear all doubts, and I commend you for comporting yourselves during the shutdown. We've met with management to set up a 10-member committee. The aim is to discuss and find lasting solution to the challenge.
Management the same and ebinum can say aban adwuma no agye afa and yes President of Mampenye Kufuado and Mabusiate GMC adwuma no agye afa yes I
Let me, however, state that the audit revealed facts that are totally different from what management of Ghana Manganese told government. I can, however, assure you that we will look into it. There is also no truth in the allegation that government is planning on taking over the Ghana Manganese Company. That is totally false. We have no such plan.
Namwom bia wo ho no se emra pro no a eye adwuma no infractions some fun emra no dia na yebetumi agina mra no so where the matter cannot be settled to take the company away from you you lose abia no.
Only God is keeping us safe. That is how some border officials, frustrated with lack of requisite logistics, respond to the situation. In our series highlighting the state of Ghana's entry points dubbed porous borders, correspondent Peter Seno visited 4 border posts in the Kajebe district in the newly created Uti region and reports one of the main challenges to border control there is the inability of officials to distinguish Ghanaians from non-Ghanaians at their various posts. Details in this report.
We began our checks on border post at the Kechi outpost in the Jasikan district, which is under the Nkwanta Sector Command. A visit to the border post would leave one in search of. Apart from the main or approved border that is managed by immigration officers, there are the outposts too, which anyone can use to exit or leave the country without any checks. Some officers who declined to be named described the situation as dire, and the conditions in which they serve are not any better.
We need men and a lot of logistics. Sometimes we patrol from here to Bethel. I don't know whether you know Bethel. We patrol to that side. Even that place, there is a bridge that they just passed there. So when we went, our boss went and laid it before the DC. That if they can give us a structure there, it would be good to station some of our people there. But all boils down to funds. Yeah. So there's slow.
So a motorbike, you fuel it yourself?
We fuel it ourselves.
Wow. So there's no reimbursement?
There's nothing. We fuel it ourselves. Here, you have covered yourself like you see. These are I'm wearing shorts.
Don't go flights.
There is something at Obuasi. There's something at Amaso. Yeah. I think they are around the whole of this place. The rest they will be there, no, then they will come. You know, when the rain falls too much, they want a dry. So you'll be there, no, they will come. So in the evening, you can't move without a torch. Before you move, you touch around. And
This is the Kechi outpost of the Ghana Immigration Service. I am told there are 3 other unapproved routes used by visitors either to evade tax or for various mischievous reasons. We are told that at least 4 men are supposed to be on duty for a rotational period of 7 days with 1 pistol, which some residents describe as a toy gun. Some officers have expressed their disgust at the deplorable conditions in which they live and work, but for fear of disciplinary actions that would be taken against them by their superiors, they would rather remain silent. The situation is not any different at the Obuasi outpost in the KJB district. The worrying trend is that some settlements have developed behind the border post, and so it's difficult to tell who is coming in at any point in time. What's more, there are several links to the town, which officers say is a difficult thing to manage. One of the men takes me to an unauthorized route close by. He tells me it's difficult to tell a visitor from an indigene. The 3rd outpost visited is the Ahumaso Pillar 83, which is also classified under the Nkwanta Sector Command. The situation here is almost a hopeless one, as this river separates the outpost from the unauthorized routes. This man provides the service of carrying people to the other side of the river. None of the men could swim when I asked those on duty at the time of our visit, not even the canoe service provider. This is the daunting task of defending a nation.
If you want to cross around this time, what do you do?
Oh, they are there to cross us.
But if it gets flooded, you can capsize. Both can turn upside down.
If they can't go, they will just tell us. Then we will use the main road.
That's the risk involved. Then we go and use the main road.
The main road.
That one too, they will blow alarm down.
You're coming. But can you guys swim?
No, really.
The commander in charge of the Nkwanta sector, did not agree to have a recorded conversation, said that no serious threats have been recorded across his borders, but admits the borders are porous. He echoes one of his men's words, "Only God is watching over us." He also admitted having issues with motor riders from Togo entering Ghana, and some community elders from same intervening whenever the riders breached the law. Mr. Faye has since been organizing security sensitization sessions for selected groups in the KJB township.
Communications Professor Kwame Kakari has called on President Akufo-Addo to reinforce his lifelong stance as an advocate of press freedom. Adding his voice to the ongoing Defend Media Freedom campaign, the Dean of Communication Studies at Wisconsin University said despite critical roles the president played to advance freedom of expression in Ghana, it is unfortunate that press freedom is currently under recession during his reign.
As an individual citizen, when I say it is sad that press freedom is under recession under Akufo-Addo, I'm saying this because he's a man I have always respected in this terrain, in the terrain of human rights, in rule of law, in good governance, and so on. He's played some very critical roles in press freedom. I remember that about 1992 or 1993, when we were struggling for press freedom, when we were working for the freedom of Kweku Bako, Haruna Atta, and others who were being incarcerated left and right, we set up an organization called Friends of Freedom of Expression.
Okay.
And Nana Akufo-Addo, then in opposition at the time in the 1990s when Professor Edubuahin was the head of the MPP, Akufo-Addo was a very active member of this advocacy organization made up of journalists, academics, and so on and so forth. Now, he's also been the main proponent as Attorney General in the legislation to reform or repeal the criminal libel and seditious libel laws.
The former Deputy Director General of the World Health Organization is encouraging scientists to open up and involve policymakers in research work. Dr. Anafia Samaba says it will facilitate acceptance and implementation of outcomes for the desired impact on development. He was speaking at a scientific conference in Kumasi.
Dr. Samaba says academia should be more interested in using their studies to address local development challenges instead of rushing to publish. He, however, indicates government's commitment to research is necessary.
A lot of research is done by academia and the university, and they are never used by policymakers, partly because the policymakers are not involved in the design of the research, but also a lot of research in academia is not designed to solve solutions, but rather is to publish, because in academia, the way to advance your career and promotion is to publish, and the way to publish is to have research. It's important that the research that academia does is linked with the problems on the ground.
World Health Organization's Towards Access 2030 initiative is meant to give more targeted support to member states for achieving global and national health objectives. The conference was jointly organized by the College of Health Sciences of KNUST and Convention of Biomedical Research Ghana. It's the 8th for the former and 12th for the latter. Dean of Public Health KNUST, Professor Ellis Ousidabo, says the concept demands multidisciplinary approach to examine various roles for universal health.
In the One Health concept, we bring together those in the environment, those within mainstream health, those in veterinary medicine. So it's a multidisciplinary, multi-stakeholder within the health sector coming together to examine what would be our role in achieving universal health care.
The conference featured a poster presentation of over 190 research findings. Provost of the college, Professor Yao Dusakodie, treated the Ghana Health Service to constantly interact to address pertinent service delivery issues.
But more often than not, we do not speak to each other. Whilst we in academia hope that the research we do will impact positively on service provision, often we've not sat and had a dialogue with the health service to know the real priorities the health service requires. So what we have mooted, that one aspect of my speech was for the fact that the Ghana Health Service and us in academia, we regularly dialogue to know which priorities in terms of research is required to move the whole health service delivery forward.
Reporting for JoyNews, Kwesi Debra.
Day 5 of the Ghana Grand has just come to an end, with the riders arriving safely in Salaga. The District Chief Executive and his team met the UK High Commissioner Ian Walker and Joel Downham on a dirt road about kilometers outside the town and rode in with them. Without stopping to catch his breath, the High Commissioner jumped straight off his bike and into a football game with the Salaga youth. Early Tuesday, the team marked a milestone as they crossed 500 kilometers of their 1,000-kilometer journey. Kojo Singh pedaled across the halfway point with the team.
Are you ready to make history?
Oh, we're halfway there. Indeed.
Right. That was quite a hill.
That was a cheeky little hill.
Yeah, but you seem to take it in your stride.
Well, to give that impression.
You made it look easy, let's say that. Yeah. Well, we've got the halfway mark right ahead of us, and I'm going to join you, if you don't mind, to do the last 1 kilometer to 500. This man to be sweating like you know, the proverbial. But look, he's almost completely dry.
Still here.
Yeah.
Nice breeze.
And congratulations, by the way, on crossing 500 kilometers of the Ghana Grand. How does it feel?
Feels good. Halfway there, and it's been absolutely brilliant so far. It's you know, we said at the start it was never designed to be an endurance event. It was meant to be fun, and every pedal has been really good fun so far. So enjoying it a lot.
All right, let's get a circle then. Let's get a nice circle. Come on.
Hey. Brian, but tomorrow, that's Wednesday, we're starting our Dear Nanado series, so you don't have to miss that one. Dear Nanado, starting on JoyNews Prime tomorrow. My name is Israel. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good day.